Are you wondering why your euros or your pesos or your dollars are losing value all the time? So here I'm going to show you a little bit with some examples. Here I'm going to show you with a few examples so that way you can understand this a little bit better. So we're going to talk about the double space stacker. This will be one example. Here we have another one, and here we have another one. So there is a book that talks about the layers of money that is very interesting. So basically, in 1944, if I'm not mistaken, there was a meeting. It was the Brentwood meeting, and they decided that U.S. Was going to be the number one, and the dollar was going to be the world's reserves currency. Remember this: world's reserves currency is not world's reserves money. So it's two different things. So money is gold and silver, and everything else is fiat. In this case, the fiat means let it be, so it's just by decree. So the government will say, okay, the peso dollar is like this. You know, they put the number here and that's it. So if you pay attention to the dollar, you will see that it says this is a note. For private, it's a debt note. So it's not even money, it's debt. It means debt. So it says that it can be used for public, for private and public debt. So basically, people are willing to take it just because someone else is willing to take it as well. So it's like religion, you know. People believe that it is worth something. That is why people are willing to to take it. But you know, the more the government creates, this is like the law of offer and demand. So if you have a lot of offer and the demand is very low, the price or the value is going, in this case the price is going to decrease a lot. So here, for instance, we are going to talk about this. For instance, let's say in 1900s, we have the dollar. In the dollar, if you see the old paper bills, it said $1 was a certificate of gold. So people could redeem the dollar just for gold. Today, you cannot redeem it for anything. Yes, you can go somewhere else, maybe a coin shop or someplace, and yeah, you can trade it for whatever the market decides what is the value of today. But indeed, the government, no, they will not give you any gold. So in 1944, like I said, there was the Brentwood meeting, and they decided, okay, the dollar is going to be the world reserve currency, because the dollar, it was equal to gold, and people were saying, okay, instead of having gold, that I'm not going to get any interest. The U.S. government said, okay, yeah, we're going to give you some interest. You can buy our bonds and everything. We will give you some interest in that. And then people say, okay, we will get rid of the gold. Instead of having the reserves in gold, they are going to have the reserves in dollars. So that is why it happened. But let's talk about why why your currency is losing value. So for instance, let's say in the beginning, everything was, you know, even in the Bible's times, people were using gold or silver. So even if you read Judas, when he betrayed Jesus, he got paid, I think it was 14 pieces of silver. And that's it. So it was no dollar, no euro, or anything like that. So if you take the same amount of silver, something like that, I don't know if it was maybe like a mini bars or something like that, or coins like this. These are gold. These are coins of silver. So I don't know if he got paid like that, but you know, it can be 50 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, and those coins will keep its value. So with the dollar, you know, every year, every month, every day is losing value like crazy, because the government, you know, they keep creating them like nothing. So that is why it doesn't worth anything. So in the beginning, everyone, it was trading, you know, maybe a service, maybe a product for gold or silver. So when the banks in the beginning, they say, okay, instead of, you know, going everywhere with your with your sack of coins or of gold or silver, we will give you a receipt. So people will say, okay, I'm going to keep my money in a safe place. So they give to the banker their gold and silver, and the banker give them, kind of a check or a paper saying, okay, this is redeemable for X amount of gold or silver, and that's it. So people, that is how they created the manual. So that was kind of the first layer. So people were saying, okay, instead of giving me the gold, I can pay you with the same receipt that the bank gave me, and then that's it. If you want to have your gold, you can go to the bank that the bank that printed that receipt, and then you can get your gold. So that, at least in the beginning, that is how it worked. So when you have, for instance, a government, let's say if the government they have a gold, they will say, okay, one coin of gold is going to be a dollar. So and so on. So what happened if you have a country that, it could be the US, they will say, okay, we need to finance the wars or maybe more social programs or anything like that. They will start creating more dollars. So instead of having, for instance, if $1 is one coin gold, and if they create another dollar here, for instance, it's going to be each new dollar is going to steal the value of the original dollar. So in this case, if we have, for instance, $2 here, and we still have one coin, so each dollar that you see here is going to worth half a coin. Yeah, and if they create another one, it will worth less and less and less, and that is how we lose, the value of our paper dollar. So of the currency that we have in use today. So many countries, what they do is they have the currency, they have the dollars. For instance, Argentina or maybe Mexico or maybe other country, they have pesos. So they say, okay, we have 2 pesos, it's going to be equal $1. So but if they need, to print more currency, more fiat, so and instead here they are going to create another peso here. So they're going to have the same problem, like I said before. You're going to have three pesos is going to be a dollar. So what it means, everyone that is holding pesos here, they are going to lose the purchasing power, because every time the government creates another peso, is taking the value uh, of the whole currency that they have. So that is why, if you have to save, let's say that if you are saving for a computer or something like that, okay, yeah, you may save in dollars or euros. But if you're thinking, like a long term or something like that, it's better if you can save in gold or silver, because that is never going to lose its value. For instance, I think it was in 2006, 1 ounce of gold was $600, and today, we're in 2022, is 1 ounce of gold is $2,000. So it's like 1900. I mean, it fluctuates a little bit, but it's never going to lose its value, even if in 2,000 years, 3,000 years, or who knows when. I mean, the value of the gold is going to keep its value no matter what. And it's not like the paper that you have that is losing a value. So that is why in today's market, savers are losers. And because, if you have a dollar, for instance, that you want to save for a car or something like that, and let's say that you wanted to buy a Tesla in 2020, Tesla was about $30,000, and now 2 years later, the same Tesla is like $50,000. So it's like almost double. So the same thing with another business. For instance, a few days ago I went to Dollar Tree, and Dollar Tree, they have everything used to be $1, and now it's $1.25. So everything increased in price. The prices have increased like 25 cents more than before, and everything is going up and up and up. The same thing with gasoline. Gasoline, like 2 years ago, was like $2 a gallon. Now it's like 4 or 5 in some places, and so on. So that is the problem that you have when governments start printing and creating currency like crazy. It's no money. They cannot print gold and silver, but they can print just paper. They can print toilet paper, and they can put the number, and that's it. So let's talk about this example. For instance, double space. So for people who were from the 90s, yeah, you will remember double space and Sucker. Those were two software that were kind of good. It depends. So if you have a hard drive, for instance, something like this, and in that at that time, for instance, my first hard drive was like 40 megabytes, and it was good. It wasn't the biggest one, but there was another guys, they had maybe 80 megabytes or 120, and that was wow. I mean, think about it. In today's age, I mean, we have 250 gigabytes or 1 terabyte, even bigger drives. So, but that at that time, like in the 90s, when my with my little hard drive, 40 megabytes, I wanted to put maybe movies, maybe some music, or maybe games or anything like that. And the 40 megabytes, it wasn't that much. But Microsoft, they created Double Space. The Double Space was a software that allow you to create the fantasy that you have, more space. So instead of 40 megabytes, it was 80 megabytes. And how it worked, basically doing the same thing like the layer of money that I'm going to show you here. So basically what the way it worked is, for instance, if you have a lot of text files or maybe documents like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or something like that, those files are easy to compress, and then you compress them a lot. So you can have a lot of those files and you will be okay. Maybe you're going to have like 70 megabytes in space. But once you start filling it up, maybe with other type of drives, I mean, with another type of files that are not compressible, maybe like a compressed GPG, or maybe movies or something like it cannot be compressed anymore. You're going to see, yes, I have still 30 megabytes available, but you start putting those big files in the drive and that are not compressible, the computer will tell you, okay, you have no more space. But you say, yeah, I have more space, but there is not more space. I mean, because the system used to work this way. So the files that you put on that drive, they used to compress it a lot, and then when you need it, it will uncompress it, and then it's like nothing. You didn't have to compress and decompress the file, so everything was running in the background automatically, and for you was like a transparent or clear use of the drive. But indeed, you didn't have that much. In today's age, it works kind of the same. So we have a different layer. The first layer will be the gold and silver, and then back then in the 1900s, it was each dollar was a certificate of gold. So that was the first layer of money. And then we have it in today's age, because in 1971, Nixon signed a law saying, okay, now all the speculators, all the countries around the world that are holding dollars, they cannot redeem the dollar for gold. So that way the US was able to keep all his gold. But they were scamming people like that, because people wanted their gold. That is why they choose the dollar as the world's reserve currency and not something else. So when that happened, even I think it was in the 1900s, people, the government say, okay, now you have to give us all your gold. Now you have to give us all your gold. And they have a rate, let's say $5 an ounce of gold, and then after that, the same ounce of gold was maybe like $20. So there was a devaluation, and people they have the gold, so the government took it off. So that is what happened. So here in this case, you have gold is the first layer. Here you have the second layer is the paper, the paper money, and then you have different layers. Now, for instance, you have checks. So I got paid with this, but this is no money. I mean, this is just it's a paper, and it's just digital on the screen. So basically, I put it on the bank, or maybe I take a picture with my app, and then I got the money. Is the fiat, it's just numbers on the screen. It doesn't exist. It doesn't have any value. It's just numbers on the screen, and that's it. It's no gold, it's no silver. So the government they can create as much as they want. That is how everything falls. Every currency, for instance, I am from Argentina, and in Argentina they have a fiat currency called Austral. Austral. One day the government say, okay, this currency that you have now is worthless, so we're not going to accept it anymore. So you have a week or 2 weeks, to exchange it for the new peso, Argentine peso, and that's it. So nothing have changed. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, instead of having one president, they exchange it for another president, and they changed the color. I think it was kind of bluish for brownish, and was the same poop. The same poop, different smell, basically. And with this, it's kind of the same. So you have, for instance, checks, you have credit cards, you have digital currency, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, and then you have different layers, but it's no gold, it's no silver, it's just digital on your screen. So they can create, PayPal one day, they can say, okay, I want to buy whatever, and they can send just digital on the screen to someone else, and that's it. The same thing with the banks. The banks, like few years ago, they had to have X amount of dollars, X percentage, so that way they can lend the currency to someone else. And now they don't have to have anything. So they don't have to have a minimum amount of currency to lend fiat to another guy, basically. And the same thing with Tether. Tether is a cryptocurrency, so it will be kind of another layer over another layer over another layer, and it's the same thing. So here, for instance, they say there is one tether is $1, but they, even if you go to their website, they say that they have different assets or something like that, but it's no, they don't have like millions or billions of dollars for each digital coin that they have. I mean, it's just numbers on the screen. And the same thing with this. I mean, some people they say that they prop the value of the Bitcoin, by generating just tethers. And when you have all the poop coins that you see in the market, that you have thousands of these worthless tokens, is the same thing. I mean, they say, okay, yes, give me your BTC, because people think it has some value or worth something. And then we will give you this worthless coin, and it will multiply by 10, and then you're going to be rich or something like that. And there are many people falling in this type of traps, but it's the same thing. Like I told you before, I mean, gold and silver is money. Everything else is fiat. So it's different layers of money. There is a book that talks about this, but this is basically how the whole system works. So if you want, there is another book that is called the Bitcoin Standard, and explains basically kind of the same thing with this. That is why I did the example with the hard drive. So that way, you think that you have more space, but you don't have it. Indeed, it's 40 megabytes, it's not 80. Same thing with this. So you think that you have a lot of currency or in your bank or in your pocket or anything like that, but it's worthless. I mean, it's only worth something because the government says so, or another people is willing to take it. Otherwise, gold and silver, you always is going to win. So when all the currencies, all the fiat currencies, fall or fail, people will go back to gold and silver, and then the cycle will start all over again. So hopefully this video was useful. If you have any question, please let me know in the section below, and see you next time.